Good evening. Thanks for being here. I'm Troy Charles. Here are your top stories. Neskantaga First Nation is now moving to a full-scale evacuation over a possibly contaminated water supply. Over the past week, the community has focused on evacuating vulnerable members as over 230 residents have been flown to Thunder Bay. Neskantaga Chief Chris Muniz announced the escalation to a full-scale evacuation Saturday morning via social media, saying the decision was based on lab results and the timeline for work to address the problem. The tweet called for all partners, including levels of government, to support the decision. The federal government had agreed to cover the costs of the evacuations, but it's not clear whether the commitment would extend to the full evacuation. The chief previously asked the federal government to meet 7 demands to ensure residents' health and safety before members return to the community. Further testing on the water samples is being planned for this week. Meanwhile, Kenora MP Eric Melillo stood in front of the House of Commons this week and voiced his concerns on the situation occurring in Neskantaga. Melillo is asking for the government's help to end their boil water advisory for good.
Now, due to the shutdown of their water treatment plant, many community members are being forced to evacuate. This is by all accounts a public health emergency and one that could have been prevented if action had been taken sooner. This government has shown that they can spend billions of dollars to address a crisis within a very short time frame. So when will they finally eliminate all long-term drinking water advisories on reserve?
We're actively working with community leadership to find immediate and long-term solutions to this health emergency. We're funding the repairs needed and the temporary evacuation of community members, as well as working with the Ontario government to ensure seamless access to health services and that appropriate public health precautions are taken to safeguard evacuees. We will not rest until Neskantaga has access to clean and reliable drinking water.
There are no new COVID cases to announce in the Thunder Bay district. However, Ontario reported 978 new COVID-19 cases today, the most on a single day since the outbreak began in late January. Meanwhile, with the presidential election right around the corner, the coronavirus continues to run rampant through a majority of U.S. states. On Friday, more than 84,000 people were diagnosed with COVID-19, a record one-day increase of infections. Here's more from ABC's Trevor Ault.
This morning, doctors and medical officials warning a fall coronavirus surge is blanketing the United States.
It is frustrating to me to see all these people that are really suffering through this disease.
This week, 39 states reporting rising hospitalizations, with 14 hitting record highs. Illinois' director of the Department of Public Health breaking down, announcing her state's staggering caseload.
For a total of 33 confirmed cases since the start of this pandemic. Excuse me, please.
Chicago trying to cut off the damage with a curfew, ordering non-essential businesses to close at 10 p.m.
My biggest fear is that we won't get a control on this thing. I mean, this is spiraling, again, out of control.
In Montana, cases have jumped more than 500% in the past 5 weeks. Sandra Sanderson says she and all 6 of her children became infected.
And I would not want anybody's kids to go through the pain and suffering that we all went through together.
Across the Midwest, Big Ten football is back.
He's going for the end zone, caught, touchdown!
But the virus is ravaging states like Ohio, setting record highs 3 days in a row. The University of Dayton announcing one of their students died from COVID-19 on Thursday at just 18 years old. This Cincinnati doctor trying to put her community's 25 weekly deaths in perspective.
Imagine if we had a fatal bus crash every week. Would we act? Yes, we would act.
In the race for a vaccine, AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson both announcing their late-stage trials have resumed in the U.S., and Dr. Anthony Fauci shedding light on the president's ongoing pandemic response, saying Trump hasn't attended a coronavirus task force briefing in several months and is instead listening to science advisor Scott Atlas, who recently tweeted, "Masks don't work against the virus."
I definitely don't have his ear as much as Scott Atlas right now. That has been a changing situation.
Local MPP Judith Monteith-Farrell is calling on the Ford government to address what she calls a severe shortage of primary health care providers in her riding of Thunder Bay Atikokan. She questioned the health ministers on the topic at Queen's Park this week, highlighting one local clinic that's been trying to expand.
I had the pleasure of meeting Pam Dalgetty and Kyle Justman of the Lakehead Nurse Practitioner-led clinic last week. Pam and Kyle want to expand their operation in Thunder Bay, and they have applied again for funding, for the provincial funding. As it stands, many people are waiting more than 2 years to become patients of their clinic, and they specialize in servicing one of the most underprivileged sort of neighborhoods in our city. What is this government planning to do to end the disastrous impact of the lack of primary caregivers in Thunder Bay?
We certainly know that Thunder Bay is under incredible pressure because they are the primary care providers for many people within Thunder Bay, but also for people who live more distant, who need to see specialists, who need to have different types of care. All of their health facilities are under pressure, and so we are looking at ways that we can relieve them. Part of it is by the Ontario health teams. Part of it is by paying attention, of course, to applications such as those by Pam and Kyle to bring forward models that are going to be able to expand services in their area.
The Northern Ontario's large urban mayors met via Zoom this past week to discuss shared issues the communities have in common. The group consists of the mayors of North Bay, Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, Timmins, and Thunder Bay, with the focus of the meeting on mental health services. The 5 cities all face similar challenges when it comes to addressing mental health and addictions, with the goal of the meeting to find a short-term solution for the issue. Thunder Bay Mayor Bill Morrow says it's important to get insight from other mayors in the Northwest who find themselves in a similar situation.
This is common cause for us, and this has been what has been the best part of this meeting for me today, is that to hear from the other mayors in the 4 largest Northern Ontario municipalities outside of Thunder Bay, that there is common commonality in terms of the issues that we are facing. We have other issues that are common to us, but the focus today will be on the mental health and addictions piece.
The 5 mayors are planning to write a joint letter to both the provincial and federal governments requesting support for mental health and addiction programs in the North. Council in Fort Frances was able to meet virtually with representatives of CN Rail this month for a presentation on the company's safety, operations, and incident response. This was spurred following a derailment near Emo in February, which caused a spill of several oil tanker cars and forced the evacuation of the immediate area. Adam Riley has the details.
It's been 8 months since a derailment near Emo saw 30 tanker cars spill their cargo, prompting an 800-meter evacuation zone and more questions from the public and municipal leaders on railway safety. Earlier this month, members of Fort Frances Council had their chance to get some answers. However, this is how things went when officials with CN were pressed on local numbers.
You cited sort of the nationwide capital expenditure number. Can you give us any scope of what that looks like in our district and sort of the rail segments we're talking about?
I'm not able to provide that. I am able to get that information, but I don't have that at my fingertips.
Since 2009, there have been 7 derailments on a 40-kilometer stretch of track between Chapel and Fort Frances. Judson says CN's presentation was delivered as more of a sales pitch than a response to Council's request, and as a result, was let down by the presentation.
I mean, I can read the CN brochures for myself to know how big the company is and what their budget looks like. But when the resolution we adopted was specifically about our communities, I had hoped to see some information about what those investments look like here.
Questions were also raised regarding railway taxation. Judson says Ontario municipalities that have rail lines that run through them are only compensated at a rate of $110 per acre, as opposed to other provinces that run a ton per mile rate. And while CN was unable to directly answer those questions during the presentation, Judson remains optimistic going forward.
Well, the train has left the station on, people's advocacy around the taxation issue, which is a provincial regulatory matter. I think that governments are looking for ways to give municipalities more resources, especially in light of the new costs that we are taking on.
Adam Riley, TBT News.
Saturday morning, accident involving a tractor-trailer blocked an eastbound lane of traffic for some time on Highway 1117. The accident occurred approximately 60 kilometers west of Thunder Bay and around 5 kilometers east of Chappaqua and south of Raven Lake Lodge, according to Ontario 511. The blocked lane was cleared early Saturday afternoon. Further details on the accident are unknown. For the 15th year, the Community Clothing Assistance is holding their annual Undercover project. The program provides 7 pairs of new free socks and underwear for children ages 4 to 14 years old. CCA is accepting donations of new socks and underwear at their retail outlet located on May Street from 10 to 5 on weekdays and 12 to 5 on Saturdays. Donations can also be made at drop-off bins located around the city. In 2019, over 1,000 children benefited from the program, and due to the current pandemic, the need for essential items is growing, making the Undercover project a vital resource for families suffering from pandemic hardships. Community Clothing Assistance Executive Director Ewa Golbanovich says the donations go a long way helping the children's mental health.
The children feel loved. They are very happy and they feel the community inclusion. So their self-confidence is there, and we want to make sure that they grow for a good citizen in Thunder Bay with no community stigma, whatever.
Donations for the Undercover project are accepted at drop-off locations until December 4th. Other donations, including cash, can be dropped off at the storefront at any time and are always welcome. Always nice to be joined on the desk by Corey Nordstrom. And Corey, there's a little fighting going on, a little ultimate fighting way on the other side of the world.
Way on the other side of the world. It's not normal that we have fights finished so early in the day, and a huge shock to pretty much everyone. I'll have more on that after the break.